I need every last one of you who said he wasn't him, every last one of you who kept asking where his feats were, every last one of you who kept downplaying his statements, every last one of you who claimed that he was not him. Repent right now, before he lets there be light in your cheeks. Thank you to our final patrons, Strawbones, Aaron, and Black Wolf. Now, before we get into this breakdown / review of chapter 79 of Four Knights of the Apocalypse, please don't forget to leave your own thoughts on the chapter in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, make sure you hit that little notification bell so you miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do a Patreon down below where you can support for as low as $1 a month. You get exclusive videos, early content, and more. Some exclusive content being the live reaction to this very chapter. Now, let's hop into last week's poll. So last week I ended up asking y'all, with the end of the chapter looking a little bit ominous, Meliodas had his back to Arthur's blade. What do you think was going to happen? What do you think was going to go down? And I gave you two options. One was the battle end. Like, bada bing, bada boom. He's in base. His back is to Arthur. Arthur, obviously, he isn't that much in support of demons anymore. He doesn't like their kind that much. He wants them off his lawn. And thusly, the battle will be over. However, the other option was continue. Mel hasn't shown assault mode. He went the demon mark for like 2 seconds. Tristan kept getting in the way. Like, obviously, the battle between our two veteran kings isn't going to be over that quickly. Come on now. Light work. And overall, within juicy, fat, girthy, 85% of the vote. Once again, I swear, y'all keep like switching up the amount of landslides we be getting. Continue one. Mel hasn't even shown assault mode. There's time. Obviously, me personally, I also agree with this. Like, Malcolm needed a cliffhanger for the end of the last chapter, and if Meliodas really went out like this, that would have been a bit embarrassing. Like, to be fair, I still am ready to roll Meliodas up and put him in a pack, like 100%. All right, like I still am way too ready for that. But I think that would have been an embarrassing way to do it. So I'm glad we are still on and pushing. Though I get y'all 15% of y'all. Y'all are kind of on my side too. Like, yes, let's end it right now. Let's get rid of him. And I can't even knock y'all hustle. It makes a lot of sense. However, thank you so much for participating in this poll. Make sure... Oh, actually, fun fact about this poll. I was going to put in a third option, but since I knew it was going to be the most voted one, I didn't. The third option was going to be interruption. Because it seemed way too likely that the battle was going to be interrupted. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give him a binary option, bada bing, bada boom, and... Once again, the landslide went to continue. However, thank you guys for participating in this poll. Make sure you participate in tomorrow's poll, dropping at 12 p.m. to make sure your input is included for next week's review. Now, let's hop into chapter 79. What's up, guys? I got the pencil here, and yeah, he's him. He's him. And he's him. He's so much him that he's even more him than I thought he was. He is just him. He is beyond him. He is him incarnate. He is him to be him on him while him to him. Him, capital H-I-M, exclamation point, capital that too. You don't know, I swear, from the bottom of my heart, I just want to let you know I called it. I knew it. Y'all who had no faith, y'all who didn't believe, I better, well, to be fair, I want you to switch up. I wanted you to switch up even before this happened. But so, switch up. Y'all know it's the truth. It's too late. Where are the feats, Pencil? Where's the feats? Lancelot can't be top 5. Where are the feats? He can't be stronger than everyone else. He just doesn't have the feats. He only has statements. Well, here's the feats for you. Do you want more feats? You aren't getting Lancelot feat picks. I'm sorry. This is how it be. This is how it is. You need to accept it. Slurp it down and gobble all over it if you need to. I don't care how much it hurts, how much you want to cry inside, how much you want to call for help. It's too late. He is him on a different degree, a different level of understanding, a different level of comprehension. He is a higher being. He is something else. He is him incarnate, and there's nothing you can do about it. Golly gee willikers. I'm so sorry. No, I'm not. He's him. But regardless of that, before we hop into the chapter itself, I do want to talk about the cover page. It's a nice cover page. It shows our main group now, right? Gawain, Tristan, Lance, and Percy. And notably, it shows like a whole bunch of different aspects of these characters. Like, seemingly enough, it shows pretty much everything that each of these characters stands for. Percy, he's new, he's excited to the world. So when the bird is let out of the cage, he's reaching for it. He's like, oh, this is so amazing. Bird. I love Bird. Meanwhile, Lancelot, being the higher power here, the relaxed higher power, he's just sitting up on a branch, chilling, looking at the bird like, love nature. Then you have Tristan taking care of Gawain. which is essentially his role. He's like, in base at least, in base and goddess mode, he is the caretaker, and he's like, Gawain, we must love and respect nature like Lancelot does, for he is our father. For Lancelot does, because he and I believe in true unity. We must respect and love the bird. And Gawain is like, we must eat it. It will be delicious. Deep fried. Like, Gawain, if you were to ask me, right, if you were to just show me Escanor's design with no context, I'd say he's a meathead. Like just straight, oh, he's the big bruiser guy. And he is, but he's not a meathead. Gawain's a meathead, and I love it. I don't know. It's such an interesting spin on this type of character. I don't know. It's been done before. I know for a fact it's been done before. But seeing it through Gawain is just so hilarious, especially with the contrast of Escanor and Mael. Like, Escanor and Mael could be meatheads in their own way, but like not as thick-headed and pig-headed as Gawain is. So the contrast is nice. However, it is just a beautiful cover page. Like, this is our main cast. To be fair, Nakaba has yet to properly write out the rest of the cast. They've been in here. Of course, they've shown power inadequacy, but to be fair, a whole ton of our cast now has shown power inadequacy. So it's cool to see this is our 4 group that will hopefully become as iconic, if not more iconic, than the 7 deadly sins. I'm super excited to see how far they grow. I'm super excited to see how far they go. I'm excited overall. However, enough of that. Let's hop right into the chapter itself. So we open up and we get to see the remnants of last chapter. Arthur has swung his blade at Meliodas' back. And admittedly, right, I get his sword is decently long, but like, unless I'm mistaken, bro literally swung above their head. Like, I don't know, at least from the standing position and where his arm has ended up, like, I could draw a line and it would be above Lostfane. Not to talk of Meliodas himself. I'm not sure where he was aiming. Like, at least last chapter looked like he was somewhat aiming directly at the spot where he needed to aim. In fact, let me check. Yeah, okay, so maybe he like swung down and then swung up. But I don't know, the way the shot is composed here implies that Arthur just completely missed. But hey, it'd be like that when it'd be like that sometimes. However, it is cool to see. It is amazing to see that upon seeing what he thought he saw, you know, Meliodas about to get cut down, Percival, someone who has had very few interactions with Meliodas, it's like they're very slight, very minimal, I'd say. There's not necessarily too much, nothing too crazy. It still shows how like deep of a connection these two have already, and how much of a connection that could grow from their initial connection, because Percy screams for Meliodas like he's about to lose a father figure, and to be fair, Meliodas very much could be a father figure after a little bit longer, so it's great to see Percy react like this. However, we do get to see that something falls in another land, in another world, and by another world I mean like probably 50 feet away, and we see that Slater ends up asking like, yo, Elizabeth, what happened? And I think, no, we've seen Slater, but we see, notably, we still haven't gotten to see Elizabeth's face properly yet. Like, I'm not sure, this just seems to be a running thing. We don't see what she looks like now. What, does she have a scar or something? Like, is it spoilers for Gridge of Edinburgh? I don't know why we keep seeing, like, her face covered, when the whole thing was she was supposed to have a fringe, like, high to reveal her eyes now, because everyone knows. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. But I don't know. I guess maybe Naga was hiding something. I really don't get it. But regardless, we find out that she didn't drop it like on purpose or anything. Like, where something shocking happened, she was just like, I don't know. My hand just quivered suddenly. And notably, this is very reminiscent of when Meliodas was in the bar with Hendrickson, and he just dropped the bottle, and it crashed, and it cracked open, because he felt Bond die. Or not necessarily die, but get his soul ripped out. It was a phenomenon that he recognized. And it seems like Elizabeth is having the same thing, but it's supposed to be in regards to Meliodas and her son. Interesting. But we see that she feels like something dreadful has happened, and she's talking to Thetis. And looking at Thetis, and I will admit, this is not a comparison I came up with on my own. There are two things you're going to be able to thank Prince of the Lake for, so go thank him down below. One, Thetis does look like Derriere. Like, almost completely. Like, the face, the only difference really is the hair, but if you were to remove the two pigtails that make her look like an offshoot of Diane, that hair is literally Derriere's shortcut hair. Like, Beyond a shadow of a doubt, I literally can't think of anything else. Though, interestingly enough, Thetis seems to have I wouldn't say, I mean, I guess it's lackadaisical. Like, she studies something, like, she looks off into the distance, and then just laughs, which causes Elizabeth confusion. To be fair, if I just told my mage that, yeah, I feel like something bad has happened, and they laughed in my face, I also would be a little bit concerned and confused. However, interesting. If Derriere did reincarnate as a mage, interesting choice. Though, it would, to be fair, it would make sense why she's laughing here on two levels. Like, one, she has the sense that nothing is wrong, and Elizabeth just freaked out for no reason. And two, she knows that the like button's free, and so is the subscribe button, so I greatly appreciate if you hit both of those. Thank you. They help out the channel a lot, they help out me a lot, and they help the video out a lot. I appreciate it. But on top of that, it also could just mean that she's like, she still has her memories from the time when she was Derriere. So, Meliodas getting hurt may just be funny to her. Because she probably still does have a little bit of spite, right? Because if this really is just her reincarnated, bada bing, bada boom. However, another interesting thing is her staff reminds me of Percival's helmet. Like, it has the black top and the rim. The only difference is, like, the staff itself has holes in it. I don't know. I wonder if that's purposeful or not. However, the reason I think it's so important, and the reason I think it is Derriere reincarnated, is because, like, why would we just get this random shot of her? This is such a random thing to put in, especially considering the context of the chapter. Nothing bad actually happened. And we'll find out why. However, getting back to the main plot, we do get to see that, to quote Zoro, nothing happened. I know, I need to read One Piece. I need to stop referencing One Piece without reading it. But gosh darn it, it's too much. It's everywhere. I know too much. But the thing here is we get to see as Tristan. Interestingly enough, I drew Tristan with fangs, just as, like, a thing. But Nakaba's giving him sharp teeth now. So I guess when he enters demon mode, he actually gains fangs and stuff like that. That's cool. I don't know. It's a thing that I don't think we've ever seen. Like, I don't think any other demon ever had a fang. Like, Meliodas didn't have fangs, or at least sharp teeth. I guess sharp teeth is the word. I guess Galen had sharp teeth. But he was an armor set, so I guess that's different. But I guess Melaska had fangs. She was a snake. Like, some of these things make sense, but Tristan having sharp teeth, I don't know. It's just a cool design detail that I like. I like it a lot. However, we do get to see that somehow, some way, in this double-layered speech bubble, we get epic fail. And Meliodas, who was holding onto Tristan tight, is like, wait a minute. I recognize that voice. It's the voice of the goat. And Arthur is looking... For some reason, I love Arthur's face in this panel, because he's looking at Meliodas and is like, why is his back not torn open? What is happening? Oh, Lost Vein is missing in the shot. I don't know. I'm sorry, I kind of snapped out of it. But, like, Lost Vein is not in this shot when it should be. I'm guessing it would probably interrupt the shot, but, like, you should very clearly be able to see it based on the earlier establishing shot of Lost Vein being at the top of his coat. But regardless, I love Arthur's face. He's like, wow, I am confident. I swung my sword with enough force to decapitate both of them. But both of them have their heads on, and I see no blood. What's going on here? And we get to see that his blade is, it's not very long anymore. And, like, notably, it was already a little bit dysfunctional, you know? Like, Arthur, I get it. Merlin may say it's big, but, like, dog, it's not even straight. Like, it barely counted as a blade to begin with. We're just all being nice to you because, you know, you're the king of chaos and all that. We gotta put some respect on your name. But, yeah, the blade's broken. Like, torn apart. Nearly to the hilts. To the point where whoever did snatch it apart, really, like, I imagine the person who would have the strength, the gall, and the nerve to just tear Arthur's blade apart had to be close enough to him that reasonably he could be perceived. But no. And could that mean... Yeah, okay, I may get into that in a little bit. But obviously we see Arthur's blade is torn apart. But we don't have much time to focus on that, because due to Meliodas letting up a little bit, Tristan just goes absolutely nuts. Like, to the ultimate degree. We see the dark lines are thickening down his face. He's barely coherent. He even just straight up... he turns into a Pokemon for a little bit. He screams, he goes, Tristan! And flies off all around. Once again, this really gives me questions more and more about, like, demon childhoods. Like, how was Meliodas raised? How was Zeldris raised? How were Gallon, Derriere, month speed rate. Because, like, if, who knows, maybe this doesn't happen for all baby demons. I keep calling him a baby. Like, notably, once again, in demon years, Tristan is 1 year and 6 months. Because remember, if we're lying and saying the average human lifespan, actually no, I think in sevendeadlysins average human lifespan is actually around 100. So demons live 10 times that. So reasonably, while Tristan is 16, he's barely a year old. So I'm guessing all young demons have this, right? Like, you could argue it's the darkness corrupting his goddess and human parts, but I don't know. It seems interesting. And if that's the case, like, I don't know, Meliodas was a powerful kid, but he wasn't necessarily too powerful. So maybe he got tamed quickly. Because, like, I can't imagine a 16-year-old Meliodas with all the potential he had just rampaging around the demon world. And, like, both the Demon King and Chandler is just like, okay, we gotta get him before he destroys the entire planet. I don't know, it'd be interesting. Though, it's cool to see that Tristan truly has lost himself, right? Like, it was on the verge. He was somewhat sentient to a degree, but now he's not even, like, attacking Arthur at all. He's just diving up, down, all around. Like, he dives off the stairs into Percival, then nearly into Donnie, and then he flies back up and around. So notably, I feel like he's, once again, I bring it up every time I talk about demons, but I'm guessing he's just going for where he senses life energy or magical energy. He's just attacking whatever there is. Interestingly enough, he doesn't dive at Arthur anymore. So, assumedly, his senses have picked up, like, wait a minute, threat. He probably won't attack his father, I'm assuming. He'll yell at him angrily, but I don't think he'll attack his father. A, because he's too strong, and B, because it's his father. I think he may have some recollection of that. And he won't attack Arthur because Arthur's obviously too strong. So he's kind of just attacking the weak right now. Interesting. The more and more we see of Tristan's out of control state, the more and more I feel like we learn about the youthful side, the youthful days of a demon, if you will. However, we do get to see that the goat has arrived, and he's holding a certain blade, a blade that could use some help. You know, it's a little bit squiggly, but I could have sworn we had seen that blade attached to something. Gotta give a look, because I wonder what it could be. However, this person holds the blade between their fingers and goes, "You are such a pain," you know that? And we see a certain light chases the flying Tristan down. And, you know, another thing, right? When I kept bringing up the fact that a certain individual would show up and smack the sense into Tristan, which by Tristan's own admission would confirm that Lance is indeed stronger than him, a certain number of individuals, and no, I'm not calling any of y'all out by name, a certain number of individuals were like, well, you know, it doesn't mean he's actually stronger. He probably just has some magical technique that would just instantly revert Tristan, you know? Here's your magical technique for you. Tristan gets blasted in the face by Shining Road and seemingly nearly gets vaporized. He's him. There are no other words I can use. He is just him. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, beyond all means of reason and logic, he is simply him. And there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing I want to do about it. Like, me personally, if you ask me, I think this is perfectly fine. But I will admit, like, then again, I guess in this case, you have no other option, right? Obviously, babying him wasn't working. Look at Meliodas. Meliodas was like, "Come on, Tristan, get control of yourself. Calm down." And Tristan was like, "No." So it looks like you did just really need to blast him in the face. Notably, but then again, it seems like Lance is just as physically strong as he is magically strong. So I feel like Meliodas, if you wanted to spare the damage, spare the torture on his son, should have just like hit him in the back of the neck and knocked him out. But nope, he gets Shining Roaded, and wow, it is just amazing. One, it's cool that, I mean, I'm not sure, it's probably Lance was just holding back, because we've seen the raw power gap between Tristan and the person Lance goes on to fight, so I'm guessing this Shining Road was just suppressed. It's just still nutty. Oh, we do get to see Meliodas lunges in, he catches his kid, and is like, "Oh gosh darn, he got vaporized again," and he slides to a stop. And once again, like, I 100% believe Meliodas is a soft father. Like, he sees Tristan still as his baby. Not just for the demon reasons, like, oh, Tristan's literally a year and a half old in demon years. But on top of the fact that this is his kid that he's been working for like 4,000 years. Let's be real. Also, let's be real. The like button's free, so subscribe button. So I really appreciate if you hit both of those. But no, in actuality, Tristan is something that could have happened 4,000 years ago in Meliodas' time chronologically. He's only just happened now. This is something that Meliodas has been dreaming about for literal millennia. So it makes sense that when he's finally presented with a chance to have a son, he's gonna baby him. He wouldn't want to impress the same lifestyle that his father did on him. A ruthless warrior who has to go in and slaughter all the other. No, he wants to have a kid that can live a normal life. So as sad as it is to see that Tristan has no control, and I was for the longest time wondering why, it does make sense that Meliodas would be a baby, would treat his little baby like an actual baby. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing for Meliodas' character. It fits within what he's been established to be like. However, it's a bad thing for the narrative because Tristan, obviously, if raised with probably even a fraction of how Meliodas was raised, would be insane. He'd be a monster in terms of raw power. And I'm not saying he isn't. Obviously, he is. But at the same time, like, he'd be even more monstrous. Maybe as monstrous as the person who launched that shining road. And we get to see that Tristan is now back in base. He's like, I can still fight. I will protect Leona. Nah, bro. You can't even form a coherent sentence. You see how many ellipses were in there? Come on, bro. Relax, take a nap, go to bed. But it's good to see that Meliodas is like, oh, sweet mother of mercy, I didn't have to slap you. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you're just you again. And that's nice. Once again, it really plays up the idea, right? Like, darkness being an entity within a demon is something that's been sort of hinted at. Like, notably, Endura is a thing. Not just the Endura form, but like, when Monspeet and Darieri go Endura, they specifically offer their hearts up to Endura. And I don't think Endura's the Demon King's real name. It'd be kind of cool, though. But, like, I don't think Endura's the Demon King's real name. I think it's just like an entity of darkness. So, it's interesting that this entity of darkness sort of exists within all demons, and thusly can kind of override them, take control of them. Like, I'm assuming Tristan would act the same way as he did flying around attacking everything if he was an Endura. So it's very interesting to see how the darkness relates and permeates throughout younger demons. However, we do get to see that Gawain is like, I'm sorry, what? He stopped that rampage with one attack? And Dottie knows. He's like, it's him. He's him. Thank you, Dottie. Dottie knows. Dottie is a wise man. He's a wiser man than even I, for he knows it's him. And we do get to see that Percy's magic pops back up. Yeah, you know this thing that I'm 50... Like, it's been helping. It's been helping a lot. It's been extremely useful. But I'm a 50-50 on whether that thing's evil or not. Like, I just can't trust it. Because it comes back and says, we're all safe. Just bail we. And we see Percival's like, oh, so it was you who called him? And it's sentient. Like, there's no justification for this. There's no... It listened. It listened to what Tristan said, went and hunted down Lance and brought him here. On its own. Percival did not command it to do that. That thing is sentient. And I just don't try. Like, how many of y'all would be comfortable if you had a clone of yourself? Just like 100% absolute biological mirror clone. Or even a younger clone. Like, let's say you had a clone that was like age 5, but you know for a fact, like, you could pick up a picture of yourself from that age, put it next to that clone, and it would be the exact same. They'd have all your exact same thoughts, manners, ideas. Would you want to coexist with that? Because me personally, I wouldn't. I do not like the idea of a clone. For me existing. But, like, this is more than a clone. These things are smarter than Percy. They're smarter, faster, stronger, better! They're better! But no, in actuality, like, these things are very, very concerning. I know, I should just, like, take them at face value, like, oh, they're nice little light pups or whatever. Like, they're not evil. They would never be evil. No, come on, come down. You're overreacting. You're overthinking it. But I don't know. I'm happy that they called him. I'm happy that he's here, obviously. But I don't know. Calling him was very easy, you know? I don't know. How did you know? It seems, I don't know. Seems a little bit shady. Very shady. However, we do get to see that, obviously, Arthur isn't too happy that his weapon is broken and his kill was stolen. So he's like, hey, I suppose this was your doing? And, I'll give Arthur this. He's having a very casual reaction to something that would cause me to freak out, right? Like, put me in Arthur's shoes. I'm the king of chaos. Long story short, I'm him. Like, above all other things in this world, I am him. And my weapon, my blade, as squiggly and diggly as it was still my blade. Something of my own power, my own creation, you know. It was also him. And then this random kid came in and broke my blade mid-swing. Mid-swing. You couldn't even travel the distance to Meliodas' back before your blade got ripped off. But Arthur's all calm, like, oh, I suppose this is your doing? Like, he has a smile on his face, like, bro, I would be freaking out. Maybe he is internally, but, like, no, externally, I'd be like, yo, what is happening? 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 Like, seriously, I'd be at a loss for words, but Arthur isn't. And we get to see the person he's talking to is the GOAT. Ah, you must be one of the four knights of the apocalypse, I presume. Well, what's this? I feel I've seen your face somewhere before. And, like, one, Lance is stanced up here. Bro is ready for action. He's ready for duty. Bro is different. That's for one. Two, Meliodas looks like he's shocked. Like, he didn't even sense it or expect it. Crazy. Three, the person's in the back, bamboozled and flabbergasted, and I love it. But you know what the saddest and darkest thing about this is? I mean, this is just a theory, but I think the reason Arthur says that he's seen Lance's face somewhere before is not the fact that he's met Bond, because admittedly, Lance does bear a striking resemblance to his father, but for the fact that Arthur, assumedly, I'm not sure how conscious he is in the creation of all of these separate worlds, or the one mega world or whatever, but he made Jericho a Lancelot. That's why he recognizes him without even knowing his name. Because he specifically had to make one that was aged up just for Jericho. So that's sick. That's sick. I'm assuming that's it. It could just be, you know, simple. Oh, he's Bond's son. He looks like Bond. Whatever. But I think the more sick, twisted, disgusting, and amazing example would be that, oh yeah, I made an older version of you for that Leonis woman. What a shame. Like, that, I feel like, would be a lot more haunting, depressing, and give Lance even more reason to hate him. And you know, the more Lance hates Arthur, the more Lance will put the beat down on Arthur. So, you won't hear me complain about that. However, what's hilarious here, right, is that, you know, Arthur correctly assumes, like, oh, he's one of the four knights of the apocalypse, and he goes to say this. Well, it doesn't matter. I was too on guard when I heard of you so-called knights of prophecy. The power of the old king's omens has diminished as well. When I came to assess you, it felt as though you just barely came up short. Like, I'll give Arthur that, you know, talk his smack. Like, Percival obviously isn't that strong. He got one tapped. Tristan obviously isn't that strong. He also got one tapped. And Gawain doesn't even have any power left to use to fight, obviously. So it seems like the four knights of the apocalypse is just a disappointing group at this point. Like, why even bother with them? However, we get to see that Lance is like, oh, so you're King Arthur, are you? And Arthur's like, oh, yes, what of it? And here you go. Here's your last Hufflecopium. Now is like, no matter how strong Lancelot is, his opponent is extraordinary. He can't beat him one-on-one. And poor Percy, dog, right? Because, like, he hates Arthur, too. He really does. Obviously, Arthur caused him all the strife in his life. He may have had a normal life without Arthur. So he wants to fight him. He even says, I'll fight with him. But you can tell by how he's stuttering, shaking, doing everything. He knows for a fact he's fought her, and he can't do anything about it. And it's sad, right? It's played up kind of as a joke, but the idea that they really are powerless in the face of Arthur is tragic and scary and dark. Like, this is the final villain. And it's sad to see. Admittedly, one thing I do have to find funny is I love how a mini Percy's just perched on Nasian's head. Like, oh, Nasian's lost his hat. I will be the hat. I still don't trust them, but they are funny. However, the like button and also subscribe button, so I greatly appreciate it if you hit both of those if you're enjoying so far. However, back to the chapter, we get to see that Gawain is just like, whatever. It looks like we lost Lance. You can't even see the power gap between themselves. And, Donnie, he just like me for real. He's like, hey, don't downplay the goat like that. And two, see, this is where I always question how good are sensory abilities, right? Because maybe the two of them are just suppressed right now. That's entirely logical. But Arthur, once again, just existing should be like standing 50 feet underwater. Like, the sheer pressure of his existence should be overwhelming. But in that same case, Lance should feel the exact same way. Lance is also him. So for the fact that they can't tell how strong Lance is here makes me wonder a little bit about what Lance's real ability is. Notably, we've been leading into the idea that, oh, Shining Road is his native magic. But I'm starting to believe he has some variation of Snatch. And the reason I say that is because of something that happens later in this chapter, for one. But what happened earlier. You notice how Arthur didn't even see Lance, supposedly. Like, Lance got the end of his blade and used Shining Road, but he didn't even see it. Funny fact about that. You know how Donnie's dagger disintegrated after using Shining Blade, or Shining Road? So did Arthur's blade, which shows how poor quality it is, assumedly. But regardless of that, Lance was nowhere near, and the blade was still stolen away. And that's interesting, if you ask me. However, we also get to see here that whatever gap in power that they think exists may be a bit narrower than they thought. Because we see Lance, he just raises his hand, casually, like he's reaching out to actually shake Arthur's hand. And we turn to the next page, and Arthur is bleeding. Like, nose bleeding. Like legitimately, like he saw the... Let me not make that joke. But regardless, it's pouring from his nostrils. Like, I've seen nosebleeds before, but I've never seen them of this variety. And notably, bro is forced to look down. And like, I love it here because Arthur doesn't even say anything. He doesn't even do anything about it. He just looks down like, am I bleeding? And notably, Lance's hand is still just raised. They're a good, decent distance apart. And like, Arthur has no words and nothing. He just has a question mark. He's like, what just happened? And that is great. Like, obviously, this is the biggest bit of damage anyone has done to Arthur. More than Meliodas, more than Tristan, more than anybody. We have legitimately not seen a chaos being this hurt since Cath got destroyed. We haven't seen Chaos Arthur this hurt since Cath literally ripped his arm off. Lance is him. I don't know how, like... Once again, as a Lance meat rider since day one, since day zero, I was a meat rider when he was Sin. I was like, Sin, he's got to be different. He's just different. You can tell he used Shining Road. He's just different. I've been here since day one, not just reviewing the series, but riding Lance. This is so wrong, but still. So to finally see it given value in a way, like. You know, me and Prince of the Lake, we talk a lot, and thank him for everything because he always says, he sends me the raws, he sends me the chapters, like he helps out a lot. He is unbelievable. Prince of the Lake, go like all his comments and go subscribe to his channel. But the thing we were talking about is that notably, if you look back throughout the entire narrative up to this point, Lance was never allowed to properly fight. Ever. When he was Sin to when he became Lance, there was always a reason, one reason or another, that he had to remove himself from the narrative. Whether it be for good reasons or bad reasons. Admittedly, sometimes Lance just left. But you can justify that back when he was Sin because he was testing Percy in the gang. Alright. He was always there. He was ready to take care of things if things need to be taken care of. When he was revealed as Lance, he body bagged everybody. But you know, those were some fodder holy knights. Then when the Chaos Commandments showed up, we see that he was casually blitzing them, but of course that was enough. But he immediately left the battlefield and left it to the other knights. And he went to go take care of Jericho. For some reason, Nakaba has been deliberately removing Lance from the plot. And as Lance Meat Muncher 49, I can tell you for a fact, I kept chalking this up to the fact that Lance is too strong. Lance will break the narrative. Lance can't be here because he will snap it. Like, legitimately, you can go back through all my reviews. Whenever Lance left, I was like, he just has too many games. Nakaba can't write him into the narrative right now. He's too powerful. And yet still, many a people were just against it. No, Lance can't be that strong. He's just some human fairy hybrid. He can't have that many games. No, he's not speed blitzing anybody. He's slow, he's weak, he's featless. Well, here are your feats. Here are your feats now. Here we go. Are you happy? Are you elated? Because I am. I am frothing at the mouth right now. I am leaning back away from my microphone so I don't drool all over it. Because I'm foaming right now. I'm so happy. And it is crazy. Like, don't get me wrong. I didn't think Lance was going to be this strong. Legitimately. I thought Lance was the strongest of the knights. I thought he was a demon. I thought he was a monster. But the first character to make 16 years of training Chaos Arthur bleed. It's just different. It is a different level of everything. It is crazy. And I love it. I love it. I love it. We'll talk about hypothetical ramifications of this for like a narrative standpoint either later on in this review or in its own video. Probably both. But let's just keep it moving. So we see that Lance, he goes from gripping he has the hand extended, right? Arthur's nose is already bleeding. And then he gets knocked back again. He gets pounded in the mouth again by Lancelot. And he just gets staggered back. He goes sliding in retreat. And we see Arthur just like, this is the first time, well, no, he was pushed back before, but he wasn't able to defend, he wasn't able to react, he got blitzed by Lance twice in a row, and I love the reactions. Nasian sweating and in shock. First of all, his mouth is just, oh, like, he's shocked. And all on his face. Gawain and Donnie, I love them the most because you can see how bug-eyed Gawain is, and Donnie is literally snotting, like, bro's eyes are out of his head, and I can't even blame them. Okay. Admittedly, I'm of the internet, and I always will be. It's just a thing. Shock horror. I'm a YouTuber, but man, I wish I'd seen this just on my first reading. Like, for people, the thing is, the reason I'm so happy to do weekly reviews, I'm happy to do these, is because this is this moment. We are in a moment in history right now. Like, seeing this for the first time week by week, it's insane. It's insane, and I love it. And the chapter just makes me love it all the more. And admittedly, I was scrolling the Reddit thread that I saw this on, and it did say that this was a mistranslation, so this probably won't be in the official translation, unfortunately. But I'm gonna just chalk it up and say, yes, this is my official translation. You know what he calls Meliodas? He says, "Uncle, leave this to me." Bro, that brought tears to my eyes, dog. Brought tears to my. I love it because I brought it up so many times, multiple times in the past. Really, Lance and Tristan, they should pretty much be brothers from another mother, if not cousins at this point, because you know that they call Bon, Tristan calls Bon Uncle Bon, and you know Lance calls Meliodas Uncle Bell, and we get to see him call him Uncle. Bro, about to tears. I love it. This is what we get. This is what we get from a sequel. This is how you do it. Like, I do read Boruto. I still do like Boruto. I critique it all the time, and I forever will. But I critique this all the time too. So don't think I'm too biased. But, well, I am. But still, this is how I love it. We have grown so attached to these characters. Bon, Mel, all these characters from the original series. And to see them put in this point, to see them as uncles, as fathers, as all this, it is such a great spin. It is beautiful. I love it. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. And it's just, it's beyond words. And I love how Meliodas, he goes from shock, like genuine shock and a little bit of terror, is like, yeah, ellipses, you got this, Lancelot. And I can already smell an inadequacy arc for Tristan. I can already smell it, because notably, as Meliodas is cheering on Lancelot, you see Tristan downtrodden and looking to the side. Like, he realizes, oh no, I lost control again. And now I'm not defending my kingdom. Lance is. Lance has always been better. Well, actually, the ironic thing is, though, the very ironic thing is that the like button is free, so the subscribe button. So I greatly appreciate if you hit both of those. But regardless of that, the more ironic thing is actually the fact that Lance lost their duel when they were 10. That's why he has his own little unique scar on his head. Tristan was stronger. So once again, we're going to talk a little bit more about the power of Lance once we get to a certain point. But I do 100% believe that not only will Tristan have an inadequacy arc that he has to get over, but two, that something definitely happened in that world beyond. Like, Lance got some special training, because there's no, once again, even I am kind of a little bit blown away, as much of a Lance meat writer as I am, just based on his statements and his narrative stuff up to this point. Him being this powerful is a bit unprecedented for a fairy-human hybrid. Like, I'm not saying hybrids usually always have higher potential than their base cells. I'm not saying Bond was weak. Shoot, by the time Lance was probably conceived, Bond was the second strongest character. Well, second strongest Sin, because Escanor died at that point. So it would definitely make sense that Lance would have a whole ton of latent potential, especially if his father was Bond after being biogenetically upgraded by Purgatory and having a royal fairy for a mother. Like, obviously, Lance would be him, but him being him, it's wild. However, we do get to see that Arthur, he wipes the blood from his face, and he's like, okay, let me retreat, let me figure this out. And he hears the name Lancelot. And once again, I do think this is legitimately a conversation he had with Jericho before, like, I've heard that name, Lancelot. He made a world for her with that. And once again, all those times, I'm sorry, I keep bringing up the fact, all those times you were downplaying it, but I will. I'll be riding this high for at least 3 months, but I am going into 2023 with all the Lance hype. I mean, I've called 3 for 3 things in different manga review, but regardless, the thing is, Lance blitzes him. Again, Arthur tries to retreat, and Lance is right there behind him and says, honestly, you don't need to remember my name. As long as I know you're King Arthur, that's all that matters. And I love the fear, the confusion, and the shock on Arthur's face as Lance just looks at him so calmly. Like, it's just a matter of course. You know what time it is. You need to die. I love it. It's so darn juicy. And we see that Lance, he just casually kicks Arthur in the back and causes him to scream. Dog. How strong is he? It's kind of like we're almost nearly at a One Punch Man problem where I feel like he's too strong. Unless, now, did I talk about it now or do I talk about it later? I'll talk about it in a little bit. But I am leaning into the common discussion point that this may be a clone. This may not actually be Arthur. Mainly because the plot should be over. If Lance is this strong already, hit Arthur with a shining rod and he should be done. Of course, Arthur, if he has the same properties as Cat, you need to seal him. Like, I don't think, at the end of all things, unless we release chaos from Arthur and make someone else a chaos vessel, I don't think Lance can really kill Arthur here. Because if Kath is any indication, you can't kill Arthur. But I don't know, the way he kicks him and the way Arthur's screaming, maybe we can just torture him down. Though we get to see that Lance was actually slightly caught off guard. And we see that Arthur managed to block with his blade. And we see Arthur asks, I know we've never met, but did I do something to incur your hatred? And notably, we see his sword has regenerated, for one. And two, Arthur immediately swings. He doesn't even give a chance for Lance to answer. However, as Arthur swings his blade and tears into the earth and a building behind him, Lance simply moves his head to the side and avoids it completely. He's like, that sword is quite the magic tool you got there. And we see that Arthur goes on to explain. He's like, how off it may chip, how off it may break, a brand new blade takes the old one's place. My artifact of chaos, Gawain. And hold on, I need to Google. Interesting. After a quick Google search, I found Carwinon was a dagger, not even a sword, of King Arthur's that he wields that could apparently shroud him in shadow. A regenerating blade does not equal shrouded in shadow. So, interesting. If you guys have any more context for Carwinon, tell me down below. Thank you. But interesting that Arthur is using this and not Excalibur. I wonder why. However, another thing, like, one, it's cool to see Arthur flexing. Two, I wonder if he says it's an artifact of chaos. So I guess he made it himself. Maybe he doesn't have Dabuzu with him. I don't know. But we see that Lance, he's not just saucy with it. He's savage with it. Bro says, "Oh, okay. So you got cutters. What about these cutters then?" And in his palm, we see teeth. Twofers. Bro got Arthur's bottom teeth. Like, he has snatch. He has to have snatch. Unless, like, the only reason I say this is snatch and not just Lance strictly blitzing over and ripping his bottom two teeth out is because this reminds me of when Bon used Snatch. Once again, I think it was Snatch. Remember that one night that Bon ran into, I believe, when that was guarding the Ceranos horn, or Bon was on the way to the Ceranos horn or something, and he specifically ripped out his teeth? That was a Snatch ability. So it would make sense that Lance has inherited some version of it, considering he is Bon's son. So I wonder, did he inherit my... Like, I called... Remember way back to the Lancelot video, I said Lance's unique human magic may be a combination of his mom's wind magic and... well, obviously Snatch. So maybe he has a combination, or maybe he just has Snatch. Regardless, it's crazy. And we see that Arthur just starts pouring more and more life juice. And it's crazy. Like, seeing Arthur this unsettled after how saucy he's been, crazy shift, crazy snap up. And we see him cough. And notably, Lance just throws the teeth away like, ugh, that's nasty. And notably, we see that Meliodas is like, he really got a skill at teasing people from his dad. And I love it. Of the callback to Bond. And Tristan's like, don't tell him that. He gets mad. Once again, great. It's so amazing to see the connections that have formed off screen. And I can't wait to see more of them given place. I don't know. I'm loving Fortnite. I'm really loving Fortnite. I get a lot of people didn't read it. A lot of people didn't care because it wasn't Meliodas. It wasn't the Sins. It wasn't whatever. But man, am I so happy to be here. And we see that Arthur begins to laugh. He's like, you should be quite entertaining. And we finally get to see a flash, a whiff of chaos. However, notably, he's still suppressed when he uses this chaos. Mainly because you can tell by the deep darkness in his eyes. He has grayish sclera. He doesn't have black ones. He usually, when he's using full chaos powers, his eyes go full black. But he's only partially black here. And you know what they say about going black. You can't go back. I'm sorry. But still, interesting. He is, but ironically enough, he does have to activate his chaos powers in order to heal. To be fair, we never saw Cath use his healing in like a non-chaos state, but interesting. So base Arthur is a set state of power, and then he has some version of chaos. So he's not inherently, well, he probably is, but he needs to flicker it on to properly regenerate. And we see that Lance just analyzes this. He's like, oh, okay, so the power of chaos lets you regenerate. Is that right? And then he asks, and notably, he gets up close in Arthur's face. He's like, then why is your right arm still a prosthetic? I already got eaten by some monster cat. Is that right? Like, to be fair, Lance did not hear. He was given the whole screenplay. But Lance, ironically enough, got a better Seven Deadly Sins anime than we did. That's wild. But regardless, it is interesting for Lance to note that. It is a prosthetic. Arthur did not regenerate his arm. And we see that Arthur, after reverting to base, goes on to say, well, you're well learned, aren't you? Yes, I was still young then. This is what I thought it was. But the reason he doesn't have an arm most of the time, he's like, this is my punishment to myself for my naivete and my weakness. So he is suppressing himself to a degree by constantly not using one arm. And we see that Lance is like, whatever. Good to know, I guess, but don't really care. Whatever you do, don't use it as an excuse for why you lose. And we see Arthur, he has this nice, calm smile. And then he immediately starts swinging his blade. He's like, what is youth? Ignorant, cruel, and pitiful. And like, I'll give him this. He does stir a reaction out of Lancelot. Lancelot does open his eyes. He's like, whoa. And we see he's swinging the blade around a lot. But, dude, what? And then we get to see through it all, Meliodas, Percival, Nasians, Donnie, Gawain, and Tristan all look on to see. A foot moves, and Arthur is smiling, and Lance is frowning. But we see that the situation may be a little reversed to what that scenario seems to imply. And we see a foot on the chest of the King of Chaos. And we find out that the one who rushed to the predicament was Lancelot. And he asks Arthur about youth. You were saying? And Arthur just looks terrified. So, long story short, Lance is him. I want to hear no debate. I better not hear a whiff. And fun fact, this feat alone, singular, in its entirety, Lance solos the Demon King and the Supreme Deity at the same time. He solos all the 10 Commandments. He solos he literally solos the verse. Unironically. In a hand-to-hand fight where he does not have to slaughter anybody, he solos the whole verse. The entire thing. Sure, maybe Mel is still stronger, but at this point I'm questioning that. And due to... It is crazy. It is crazy. Lance had to do something. I'm sorry, this is unnatural. I do not believe that 16 years of chaos can just get overwhelmed by a fairy human hybrid. I just don't think so. Lance had some sort of chaos trading. I 100% believe it, just because of what this implies. However, we're going to talk about that more in its own video. This chapter was amazing. 25 out of 10. I have to give it a 25 out of 10, just because it already had expectations, but then it blew my expectations out of the water. It gave us hints to other things. The possible resurrection of Derriere through Thetis. We get to see the end of the demon Tristan and where he needs to go. We get to see the return of Lancelot, him finally in the plot. We get to see the bullying of Arthur, finally in the plot. We get to see the advent of the new top dog. And overall, super duper hype. However, that's what I think. Please tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that little notification bell so you miss out on any videos that come on the channel. Also, I do a Patreon down below. You can support me for as low as $1 a month. Get like exclusive videos, early content, and more. Thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.